What's the YouTube? Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you my first place Invoked profile. So I took this to one of my locals on Saturday. It actually did well. There's a lot of things that I want to change about it though, because it wasn't fully perfected, but I was able to pick up my OTS winners pack, so I'll take that. We'll open this at the end of the video as well and see what we get. So I'm going to take you through the main deck, the extra deck, and the side deck that I've put together, and then talk through what went right, what didn't go right, and what I would like to change. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. So diving head first into the monsters for the deck, you're going to be going with 3 of your Alistar the Invoker, and you're going to back this up with 3 of the Alistar the Remnants. So these cards are like, Alistar is always good. Like, the normal summon Alistar will always be a thing. That's just how it's always been. Normal summon Alistar, go burr, right? That's usually what everyone built onto. But now, we've got normal summon Alistar and extend Alistar as well. So the Remnants is really kind of cool, because the Remnants will give you access to either Invocation, or can also get you access to the Invocation Sword, which is really, really useful, because Sword, where Invocation wants to banish stuff from the graveyard, Sword lets you put them back from the graveyard, banish them back into the graveyard, so it just works out really nicely. I've got the 1 Vicarum, and then 3 of the Awais. I've seen some builds that play 2 of the Awais. I don't know why you would play 2. Like, this card is another route to Alistar. Whether that be Alistar the Extender or Alistar the Starter, it just gives you technically 9 copies of Alistar route that you need. Speaking of which, to get this even more consistently, you are going to play 3 Sacred Spirit Sword Awais. So the idea is that you get to special on the Awais from the deck to the field, then you can banish the Awais from either the hand or the field to then search out an Alistar. If you banished it from the field, you get to normal summon that Alistar straight away. So the other effect is you either take an Alistar monster from the deck and either add it to the hand or send it to the graveyard or banish it. And then the third effect, you get to look at 3 random face-down cards from your opponent's extra deck and then banish 1 randomly. So if you wanted to, technically, by the time your opponent starts their turn, you could have ripped 7 cards from their extra deck. 6 of those being selected as well, which is crazy. 3 Magical Meltdown, because again, you want more ways to get to your Alistar. Here's a way to do it. It's a shame that it's Alistar the Invoker specifically this gets to, but I understand it. If it said any Alistar monster, like, I'm hoping in the future we get like different attribute Alistars, but it looks like Alistar for Invocation, Invoked is always going to be Darks. 1 Terraforming to help you get to it, unless you see 3 Magical Meltdowns of the Terraforming. Boom, crazy. And then we do get to play 2 Invocation Sword. So this is the brand new one. Being a quick play basically lets you Invocation during your opponent's turn. But you fusion summon a fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters you control. If you're summoning an invoked fusion monster this way, you can also return monsters from the banishment, any banishment to the graveyard. During the main phase, if this card is in the grave, you get to target an Alistar monster or an Invocation in your graveyard, shuffle this card back into the deck, and if you do, add that targeted card back to the hand. So quite like original Invocation, that's going to do the job just for you. So like these 4 spell cards are just absolutely incredible for this deck. The 1 Gamma Summon, more times than I actually forgot that I was playing this card, but this is a card that I would sub out. So if I'm going second, I sub this out. If I'm going first, then obviously I'd sub out my Mortami for losses. 3 Super Polymerization, like Alistar the Invoker pretty much plus any attribute within reason can be a Super Poly target. For the non-engine, 3 Ash Blossoms and Thuas. I was also on 6 Chummies for this one. I don't think I need to play 6 Chummies. I feel that I could cut the Prelude down. I also quite like the idea of putting Ghost Ogre from the side deck into the main deck. Ghost Bell might be more dependent on the environment you're playing it at, but again, I feel there's a little bit more flexibility there. For the main deck, I was also maining 2 Drowls and 2 Effect Veilers. Effect Veiler puts in a little bit of work, but I can definitely see how you could take these cards out, and that's when you can start to experiment a little bit more with either, like, maybe the Fallen Virtuous, but the extra is quite tight, or more like Breaker-esque cards, or just more effective cards outright. I was also on the 1 Crossout Designator and the 1 Called by the Grave. The Crossout Designator was purely because I was playing so many different hand interactions. Veiler, Droll, Perulia, Fua, and Ash. So, you know, ultimately I don't think it needs to be in there. Again, it's a flex option you can open up. And what that will start to do for you is that will start to mean that you can take these 2 cards out and your Ghost Ogres go into your main deck, and then your side deck becomes a bit more free. So there's a lot to juggle around, and it really kind of comes down to the environment. But the fact with the invoked strategy itself is your hand interactions, you don't care when they hit the graveyard, because that's when your Alistar comes into play and then uses them as fusion material. So unlike Cool Tunes where you kind of want to maintain them in the hand, so to speak, because they're the tuners, and then if you take it back to Vanquished Soul, you want to keep them in the hand because they're attributes to reveal. With Invoked, you're actually quite happy to just dump them to the graveyard as long as you do them at the right time. Moving on to the extra deck, we've got 2 Hyper Invoked Aeon. This is one that rips apart the extra deck, but it is also a very, very aggressive out. So if this card is Fusion Summoned, you get to banish cards from the field and or graveyards up to number of monsters used as material. So it could in theory replace SP Little Knight, but I still feel that SP Little Knight has its usages, which is why I still play it. I've got the one Yugioh, so this is obviously just there to make a stronger fusion monster, and then also have that trigger effect on summon to destroy, and then during your opponent's turn when they special summon to destroy. Raijin, more times than not, this is the card that you banish from your extra deck off of the back of the Remnants, but I actually do quite like this to sometimes summon it, because it could be quite useful for you. Purgatorio, the aggressor, attack all your opponent's monsters once each, clear them off, and then fill in for game for the rest of it. Macabre is now an acceptable one-off, because this isn't as ideal for one of your end pieces. If Nibiru comes back into the format, this is something you're going to want to focus on, but it's just one of them cards that, again, it gives you that negate, but it requires you to have the right type of card in your hand, so it can get very, very specific. Then the last of the old ones, One Elysium. This is like your one-sided Raigeki, I guess. Well, it's not even Raigeki, it's like an upped Raigeki because you banish them, but it can also banish from the graveyard or your field. It's like the attribute. So you tribute... during your player's turn, you get to target an invoke monster you control or in the graveyard, banish it, and then all monsters your opponent controls with the same attribute. This card is pretty much treated as all the attributes in the game, but if you're able to banish a specific attribute in the graveyard, even better. Then for the new ones, we've got the Oceanus, the Seraph, and the Bay Baron. So the Oceanus has kind of like 2 effects. If it's in the extra monster zone, it's a floodgate. Any monster your opponent controls that is sent to the graveyard is banished instead. While it's in the main monster zone, your opponent monsters cannot attack, target monsters for attack except this one. So kind of different in the way that it works. You can banish this card from the graveyard to target a fusion monster you control, and it can attack directly this turn. Seraph has a quick effect during the main phase to target a level 6 or lower monster in either grave and special summon it. If it's in the graveyard, you get to banish it from the graveyard to fusion summon and invoke fusion monster from the extra deck by banishing this card and then monsters from the field or graveyard as material. The Bay Baron searches you out the Vicarum, and it can search you out all the Gamma Summon. And then from the graveyard, you can banish it to target a fusion monster you control. Your opponent's monsters you control are in graveyard, I believe. No, it's a fusion monster you control. Monsters your opponent controls lose attack equal to that target monster's attack until the end of the turn, so it just shifts the attack stats. Then the final fusion monster we play is the one Mixora, the Confounder. This is just another nice one to be able to fuse during your opponent's turn. So this is a TCG exclusive, lets you target a face-up monster on the field and declare an attribute. It becomes that attribute. During your opponent's main phase, quick effect, you get to fusion summon a fusion monster from the extra deck by banishing this card you control and monsters from the field or grave as material. If this card is in the graveyard, you get to declare one attribute. This turn, this card in the graveyard becomes that attribute. It is basically custom for Invoked. Then for the Link monsters, pretty standard this one. You've got your Almirage. Now, the one thing about the Almirage is usually you just go, obviously, Alistar and turn Alistar into it. However, if you use the Remnants to turn Alistar and give it an additional 1,000 attack, you can't go into Almirage. So you have to put both of these into your Link 2. And the idea is you just want to get those 2 to the graveyard. And the Link 2s of choice is the Alistar, the Invoker of Madness. I still like Proxy F Magician. You don't have to, because obviously you can't use both your Alistars to get into your Invoker of Madness, because this is 2 monsters with different types and different attributes. So if you've special summoned down the Remnants and you've adapted your Alistar can't go into Almirage. So I found that Alistar the Invoker of Madness was a lot more awkward to get to. So I was using these 2 to get into Proxy F. More times than not, what you want to do is try and turn your Alistar into Almirage. So it can be... The other one you can play, which is probably a bit more consistent and might be the better way to do, is that you turn your Alistar into Artemis. Because then Artemis is the spellcaster. So then that's how you can go... Your normal summon your Alistar, turn that into Artemis, which is probably the one big change that I would make. Because you turn that into Artemis regardless. The only difference is you don't get your fire attribute, which you need in order to make your Seraph. So, I mean, it kind of works both ways. Let me just double check Seraph. Yeah, Seraph is fire or wind, so it makes it a bit awkward. But yeah, I was more times than not going into Proxy F. But I feel that if I wanted to, Proxy F could become the Artemis. So it kind of comes down to preference on that one. I definitely feel that I'm going to change maybe this to Artemis instead of the Proxy, because Proxy is actually putting a lot of work for me. Anyway, the last card is SP Little Knight, just pretty standard on that one. Then to show you the side deck. So for the side deck, I was actually siding Kaliga. It's just one of the ones where I was like, very rarely should I ever need to make this go in second. I'm only ever really going to want to make this go in first. Why not side it? Because I have so much space used up in my extra deck already. That might be a mistake. This might be something that comes into the main deck later on. yeah, I'm just experimenting with the extra deck a little bit. For my going first cards, I was playing the 1 Solemn Judgment and the 3 Solemn Accusations. Just pretty standard. The idea was that you just take out your 3-4 losses and go into Accusation, and then you take out 1 Perulia for your Judgment, and then the last 2 cards I was putting in those places were 2 Ghost Ogres, because the Ghost Ogres would have a bit more of a balanced feel. But I feel that's where the Perulias can kind of swap spaces, and the Ghost Ogres can go into the main. For the Ghost second cards, I was on 3 Pot of Sloths, 2 Evenly Matches, and then I would be playing 3 Santa Clauses. But I did the rookie mistake and lent my rare playset to my friend and haven't got it back yet. So I was on 2 of these and 1 Lava Golem. The Lava Golem doesn't really make much sense, because the idea is the only way you can get your Lava Golem to be... Well, you can't even use it that way, is because it means you can never normal summon your Alistar, which is just crazy. So this should definitely be a 3rd Santa Claus. I just don't own one. And this is one of the ones where if I've already opened up Invocation or like a way to fuse, Lava Golem could help out. But very rarely did I put this in. There's just no point in this being in the extra deck. And that's pretty much it for the entire profile. Like I said, I wasn't fully prepared with this. There was a lot of stuff that I want to change. And a lot of fine edges that I need to kind of filter down a little bit, because there are question marks on some of the choices here. I feel that Ghost Bell could be utilised, but I also feel that Ghost Mourner could also be quite utilised as well, which could be kind of fun. So, we've got the OTS Winners Pack. Now, I've been told to be very, very careful with this, because if you try and pull down here, I've seen a lot of people damage the card, which is absolutely crazy. I don't think I actually have any scissors nearby. No, I do. I lie. There we go. There we go. Perfection. Now, let's not do what the guy did with his Grandmaster Rare. Let's make sure the card is completely clear, which it is. There we go. Okay, so my first ever Winners Pack. Let's see. Now, there's a couple of cards in here that are like high chase. And then there is a couple of cards that are pretty average. Now, the thing that I have seen is that they're all American print. And I think these are obviously all, unless I'm wrong, I think these are all kind of created in America and then brought across. So, let's see what our first ever Winners Pack card is. Astrazama Urania. Not the ideal one you want to go for, but this is what makes it a OTS Winners Pack. Is it has this emblem in the bottom. Now, there's only one card in the entire set that is actually an upgrade. Everything else is either a downgrade in rarity or like the side grade. This is a side grade because it's originally ultra rare, but it does actually look really nice as this American rare print. Because the colours just pop. I might actually have a normal one to one side, and I'll show you the comparison between the two. But the yeah, this is probably not the best one to get, but I can't complain. A Winners Pack is a Winners Pack. I definitely have one to one side. The question is whether it's apart from the pile that I'm looking through. But yeah, basically the idea is that you get these for winning your local events. You can also get them for top 4 at an OTS. There we go, there's the other one. You can get one as a top 4 finisher at OTS Championships. They're both the exact same. They both have the exact same logo. But then you can also get them in judges. So if you judge an event, you'll get one that has judge down here. And then you also get ones that has YCS as well. So just showing you these side by side, you can kind of see the color difference already. The left one is like very much more potent in the form of its colors in comparison, but you can kind of see. And then another big thing is that it says I think it's WI26, and then down here it's a silver icon, and there's no first edition. So kind of gives you a bit of an idea of what you're looking at between the two. Anyway, that's it for the entire profile. That's it for the entire video. I'm going to put this in a sleeve still because it's still kind of a cool. Whether you want to sell it, whether you want to keep it as an achievement, entirely up to you when you get yours. But yeah, definitely something a little bit extra from locals as well, which is kind of cool. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe. And of course, happy... Is there a fusion here? Dueling.